Hello and welcome everybody to a new episode of Just Drive. Today is a very special day. Today we're going to the Lamborghini showroom, the Behbehani Lamborghini showroom in Bahrain, to see one of the most special cars out there offered by Lamborghini, the new Lamborghini SVJ, 1 out of 900. So when the sales manager, Mr. Nasser, actually invited us to come and check out the car that just reached Bahrain, we couldn't resist and we couldn't say no. So let's go ahead. Now we're here. We arrived at Lamborghini Bahrain. It seems that the car is still not here in the showroom, but that doesn't mean we're gonna stay outside. Let's go inside, see what cars they have, and wait for our special car, the new Lamborghini SVJ. Inside the dealership, let's take a look around and see what cars they have before our SVJ comes. We have the new Lamborghini Huracan Performante Spider. What a lovely color on this car. We have the Lamborghini Aventador Convertible. What a lovely color on this car. Amazing spec, amazing car, and amazing color. Over here we have the Lamborghini Huracan Performante. This color is so amazing. I wish you can see it, guys, because the color is literally popping out. Back in 2012, Lamborghini released the first Aventador with 690 horsepower. Then came the Lamborghini Aventador SV with 740 horsepower. And then, after that, with a little bit of a facelift, and some changes here and there, came the Lamborghini Aventador S, which is basically the new base model of the Lamborghini Aventador with 730 horsepower. Now we have the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Today we have the brand new Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. This is considered the flagship and the top end range in the Lamborghini Aventador family, and also for Lamborghini for that matter. There is only 900 units that will be built for the entire world, and this is one of them. So we know that having this car over here in the Kingdom of Bahrain is a special occasion for us, and you will always be reminded that this car is special. Apart from the looks, apart from anything else, once you look next to the A-pillar, next to the driver's side, there will be a plaque stating 1 out of 900. Now we know this price costs a lot, and it costs around $500,000 base without any options, and we know that options are plenty. So the more you customize the car to your liking, the more the price will go up. Now for anyone who's driving a Lamborghini, you wouldn't care about the fuel consumption. I know that I wouldn't care if I drive a Lamborghini. So it's worth noting that this car will consume 31 liters per 100 kilometers on the highway and 13 liters per 100 kilometers on city driving. This car has 760 horsepower coming from a naturally aspirated screaming V12 that takes the car from 0 to 100 in 2.7 seconds to reach a maximum top speed of 350 kilometers per hour. All of this coming from a car that weighs 1.7 tons, or to be exact, 1,720 kilograms. We know it's not the lightest track car out there, but hey, it's the most exotic, the most head-turning, and the most beautiful car to look at. The engine is still mated to the old school manual sequential transmission gearbox. There is no dual clutch gearbox just like the Lamborghini Huracan Evo. Still, the old school system from the other Lamborghini Aventadors is in this car. Going to the back side of the car, we see the highlight feature of it, the center mounted exhaust. They're mounted above the license plate, in the middle of the backside, and between a metal mesh. These exhausts are signature to Lamborghini with a distinctive design where they have a mesh on the inside, a matte finish on the outside. This is not similar to any other car manufacturer where basically they will put for you a plastic piece in the front of the car exhaust just to make it follow the design and look better. These are actual exhausts that are extending from the engine directly all the way to the back. These exhausts will shoot flames, roast a marshmallow for you, and still sound amazing. Take a listen. Continuing with the backside of the car, we see the tail lights. We cannot ignore them. They look beautiful. They incorporate Lamborghini's signature Y design into them, and the turning signal is incorporated into the Y design, not the orange part above it, where basically whenever you turn on the turn signal, it will light up the Y to show the other people in which direction you're going. Now that's turning in style. When we talk about the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ, we cannot skip the massive rear wing. This wing is carbon fiber and unique in its style, and it's so massive that it needs to be mounted in 3 different locations. It's running the width of the car itself. Also, in the middle of the wing itself, there is the ALA symbol, which is Lamborghini Advanced Aerodynamic System. And Lamborghini takes so much pride in it that it's put it here and on the front of the car, which we will talk about the ALA system later on. The engine cover bay is so unique and so distinctive that it speaks Lamborghini the moment you see it. With massive openings or vents on each side of the engine cover that meets in the center with a glass panel that runs all the way from the top of the engine cover all the way to the bottom where it meets a mesh grille. This grille, along with all of the vents and the openings, are used for cooling the car engine, that screaming V12. Now, opening the engine cover is not an easy task, not like popping a latch at the front of the car and the engine cover bay will open. Actually, in this car, you have to have a special key. It's not the same key that you will use to turn on the car, rather a different type of key that you will have to insert in both sides of the engine cover bay, unlock the latch, pop the latch, and then the engine cover bay will open. Now, sticking with Lamborghini style, they obviously have put the engine firing sequence, or actually the cylinders firing sequence, in the middle, visible to everyone to take a look and try to guess which cylinder is making that beautiful noise. That's if they can. Going around the side of the car, you can see the huge and massive air intake. This air intake is meant to cool the screaming V12 at the back. Now, I cannot emphasize on how big this air intake is, but literally I can put my head right into it. And trust me, I don't have a small head for that matter. And you know that Lamborghini means business when it comes to cooling their V12 when they put an air intake this big. Now, running along the car on the side itself, there are the carbon fiber side skirts. Above it is the carbon fiber side mirrors, and on each end of the car you see the massive wheels with the massive brakes and their calipers. Now, you might have noticed that these wheels actually, they don't have the normal nuts and bolts of all the other normal cars, or even the Aventador S for that matter. Rather, continuing with the track focus theme and the track ready car, they have the central locking system. Now, this is gonna be a hassle if you try to change it on the side of the road, as it will require a special tool to remove them. At the front of the car, we have the massive front air splitter that has ALA also imprinted on it. A little bit behind it, there are the flaps for the ALA system, which open and close electronically to provide the needed aerodynamics for the car at that situation. Now, the nose itself, it has two vents, which also helps with the aerodynamics of the car. Now, at the front, we cannot forget the headlights. They have the signature Y design for Lamborghini, and next to them is a cluster of small LEDs to show you how to turn in style. Now, if the height of the car didn't catch your attention in your rear view mirror, trust me, the Y design on the front headlights, that will get your attention and let you move out of the way so this car can overtake you. The ALA system, short for Aerodynamica Lamborghini Attiva, which is one of the secrets that Lamborghini uses to allow this car to achieve astonishing track records. Now, the ALA system itself replaces the hydraulic actuators that are used to control the flaps on the car with electronic ones. Now, these flaps exist at the back of the front splitter and in the front of the rear wing, where the system itself decides how much and how often these flaps open and close depending on the driving scenario and situation. So if you're trying to reach as fast as possible, these actuators will close the flaps and it will allow the car to be as aerodynamic as possible. If you are in a fast corner or a fast turn, these flaps will open to provide you with more drag at the right time and at the right place to allow you to corner as fast as you can without losing the time on the track. Now that's amazing. Now, moving to the inside of the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Now, being the stripped down hardcore version of the car, we noticed that there isn't even floor mats anywhere in the car. It actually has been replaced with a cover that has the Lamborghini Y logo. The seats themselves are carbon fiber bucket seats with Alcantara, so they can grip you tight. And if you look around, you notice there isn't actually any storage area. There is no glove box, there is no center console, nothing to store your things, apart from a few pockets behind the passenger and the driver's side, and a pocket actually next to the passenger. This is just to store some documents. Now, Lamborghini doesn't want you to add any weight to the car, so they removed these storage areas and to make the car actually track focused car. Now, if you have a kid, you can have him hooked up over here with the child seat, because there is a tether behind the passenger seat for the child. Now, you can drop your kid off to school or off to anywhere, and then off you go to the track. Now, moving on, surprisingly enough, there are two suits hooks behind the passenger and the driver. Now, you can go to work in style and go back from work in style. The center console is actually where you control most of the car features and functions. You will notice there is a bright red button in the middle of the center console. This is actually to start and stop the car. What you have to do is lift the flap, click on the button and start your car just like a fighter jet. Now, there is a trick to it. If you have tiny fingers, you can squeeze your finger inside this little hole and start the car without lifting. But hey, Who would want to start their car a normal way? I would rather lift the flap, start the car and go, just like I'm in a fighter jet. Now, going to the left side of the driver, we notice there is a control stack. This control stack also imitates the fighter jet style, completing the theme that Lamborghini is going for with the Aventador. Now, the paddle shifters exist behind the steering wheel. They are nice to touch, nice to feel, and sturdy enough, and want you to change gear every single minute. Speaking of changing gears, you've noticed there is no gear selector knob anywhere inside the car. But how would you change gear in the Lamborghini? Easy. Once you turn on the car is actually in neutral. What you have to do is you flap the paddle upward, the +1, and the car will go into first gear. Now, to go back into neutral, you have to press both paddles and the car is back into neutral. Reverse and parking, they do not exist in the steering wheel. There are actually buttons over here for the reverse and parking. There is actually one more thing that's bothering me a little bit, which is the air vents. Now, with all the fighter jet style and look inside the car, you cannot help but notice that these air vents actually look normally like any other car. Now, if I just take a video of the air vent and show it to you, you would think that I'm inside another car. But this is the Lamborghini SVJ. Anyway, who cares about how the air vent looks like and what the infotainment is? This is a car that screams when you press the pedal, and that's all what matters. Going back to the gauge cluster itself, even though this is a 2012 design, but the gauge cluster itself is still modern and is still living in this day with all of the changes around the supercar industry. The gauge cluster itself, it's all digital. It consists of 3 screens, digital screens, and 4, I would call them icon screens, basically to flash important information regarding the car. Now, you will notice that in this Lamborghini, the gauge cluster itself is always looking the same, no matter how you change the driving mode. This is because this car is track focused, and Lamborghini would always want to remind you that this car is built for the car. Now, the only thing that will happen if you change the driving modes from Strada to Sport to Corsa is the colors of the indicators, I would call them, of the gauge cluster. So, Strada will make the colors look white, Sport will make it look orange, and Corsa, which means track, will make it look red, to remind you the aggressiveness of the track and how ready you have to be. Now, looking down on the gauge cluster itself, you will notice there is a small representation of the Lamborghini you're driving. This is the ALA system representation. It shows you in real time how is the ALA system functioning at the front and the back of the car. This is for the geeky people among us who love to look at these things even when they're driving hard. Now, the gauge cluster also contains the door open indicator, and if you take a look at it, it's a representation of the Lamborghini that you're driving, but what it seems like the doors are not going up Lambo style, they're actually going sideways. That would be something interesting to see, a V12 Lamborghini with the doors going sideways. Or it could be that the doors are actually going up, but from the 2D dimension, or actually from the 2D diagram that we're seeing, it seems like it's going sideways. Now, moving to the center console again, we notice that the infotainment system control actually exists on the center console. So it seems to be like this is not a touchscreen. Now, with VW and Audi, the parent company of this car, they have moved from the normal, I would call it analog infotainment system, to the new digital touchscreen infotainment system. But this one still has the old analog, similar to Audi, similar to the VW, with the trackpads, with the buttons that you have to use to control your infotainment. But hopefully this will all change with the next V12 Lamborghini. Now, even with the infotainment system, with the air vents being old school, with the lack of storage area being a track focused car, and with all of these small and little details, I would call them, I don't think it's something that's gonna bother me that much if I drive a Lamborghini SVJ. Honestly, these things, I wouldn't even look at them, because once you're driving a Lamborghini SVJ and that V12 is screaming at you, you wouldn't care about these things. Now, being inside the car, it's worth mentioning that the rear view and looking at the back while you're driving, it's actually surprisingly good. It's not the best, but it's not too bad. It's actually good. Even with the vents, even with the giant wing that's blocking most of your view, you actually can see what's happening behind you. But again, if you're driving a Lamborghini, why would you want to look back? You would always want to look ahead, given how fast this car can go. Well, this concludes our review of the brand new Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Obviously, this is in the car. This is the Lamborghini Huracan Performante Spider. But nonetheless, this also concludes our review of the Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. We would like to thank Mr. Nasser Juma, who invited us over here to see the car, review it, and share its details with you guys. Also, we'd like to thank Behbehani Bahrain, the authorized dealership for Lamborghini in the kingdom, and to congratulate the new owner of the car, who just received a spectacular, a fantastic, and a beautiful car, the new Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. For you guys, please like, subscribe, and comment to our video, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Until next time, just drive. I mean, look at it. It's magnificent in any way. Not in any other way, in any way. Cut. V12. Cut. Screaming V12. This car will be prepared from the old manual sequential transmission gearbox with 690 horsepower. Then came the Lamborghini SV center-mounted exhaust between a mesh of metal, I think. Metal. Continuing with the back side of the car, we cannot take our eyes off the headlights and see the firing order and the fire cut vents on each side of the engine cover that are so massive that you can stick your hand in the front splitter and on the rear in front of the cut. Okay. Why the am I out of focus?